Even now, no one could believe it. It had been over 100 years and still the argument raged in every canteen and mess whenever things got boring. Cadia had fallen. That's what they had said. Had been saying for a long time now. But most of us did not believe it. You see, ours was a small world, an insignificant world. Like me, it supported others, but unto itself, it was next to worthless, I guess. For thousands of years we have infinem esordum 3, Reaper's End. We had supplied the front. We had always considered ourselves an interior world, safe, snugly paced far from where the wars and horror were fought. A hop, skip and a jump from the road to Sol to Terra, it was true, but a backwater that was only ever visited when it was necessary for us to pay our tithes. Fleets of ships would appear and land, all empty. And 3 weeks later, they would disappear into the skies laden with our wares, our food, our produce. Clothing, textiles, rations already packed for our brave fighting men and women at the front. Cadia. Some said that the increase in ties had been because Cadia still stood, was getting more powerful and more populous with the warriors of the Emperor with each passing year. Some said that the increase in the ties had been because it had fallen, and every last scrap of food and kit was now needed to try to push back whatever had broken through. But we didn't often talk about what had done it. None knew, not really. We all just knew it was important. I'd been told 1,000,000 times that the tear across the sky had not always been there, but to me it always had. To my father and his father and his father, it always had been there. Some said that there was a time before the rent was there, and that it signalled that Cadia had fallen a long time ago. But these people did not last long. They always disappeared, were transferred or redeployed. It was just a rumour after all. So we were in utter shock when it began. Utter shock. We were not prepared for any of it. Not the actuality, but not even the concept of it. For they had come. It had come. War had been brought to our little insignificant world. I remember seeing the display when they arrived. Black ships coming out of the skies, and a full quarter before the haulers were scheduled to arrive. But these were no haulers. No freighters of things and food and produce. These were haulers of men of war. Men of evil. Men of blood. For when the first ship landed, our entire comms network was taken over, hijacked by the invaders. A huge being clad in black hurtled from the skies and flung down a lance. It struck the earth and bit deep, shuddering from the impact, giving off a twang that all across our entire world heard. The thing that threw it then landed. Fires plumed under him as he approached the ground where his weapon, that he would declare was Hellspear, he slowed and stopped, landing deep and with a resounding clang that none would forget. His terrifying voice came over the comms, matched and echoed by 100 voices, his men who landed around him like a murder of crows. He declared that the world was forfeit and would fall within 80 days and 80 nights. We all saw, we all heard. He was a thing of terror. And while we all watched, he then proceeded to attack the planetary defense force around him, witnessing him. The carnage was spectacular. It was impossible to look away. So many of us just stood there transfixed, watching this man, this thing, tear our best trained warriors to pieces, crushing them with ease. We all knew it would not take 80 days. For this horror, this thing from the abyss, that cleft a man in two with a backhand swing, and could launch his spear to pierce 3 men through in one lunge. He was but the herald. He was but the lackey, the hound of his master, and the herald told us his lord would arrive. And I thought to myself then, he does not need it. This Haarken Worldclaimer and his flying monsters do not need their master to arrive, for I knew there was nothing and nobody on our world who could stop just him. What in the name of the Emperor could the master of such a man be? Surely, one who could assail the Holy Throne itself. Welcome, gentle listener. I'm Baldermort, your faithful servant, and I wish to introduce you to the forces, factions, and important faces of the Warhammer 40k universe, the grim darkness of the far future, where there is no time for peace, there is only time for war. And today, we shall be introducing a relatively new character as the timeline goes. For today, we shall briefly discuss Haarken Worldclaimer, the Herald of Abaddon the Despoiler. The Black Legion are Abaddon's to command, and it is this individual, Haarken, who goes before the main body of the Black Crusade to proclaim the advent of his master. And so, as usual, for the very basics, let us lean on existing wisdom. To quote, Haarken Worldclaimer, Herald of the Apocalypse. Before every doom there is a portent. Before every apocalypse a sign. Haarken Worldclaimer is that dark omen given form, and the otherworldly destruction he heralds is the coming of the War Master himself, Abaddon the Despoiler, Lord of the Black Legion. Haarken Worldclaimer takes a heinous joy in his role as the mouthpiece of Abaddon, for it is he that proclaims the death of worlds. He does not do so with quotidian threat or hollow boast, but by driving a spear of terror and confusion deep into the heart of citizen and soldier alike. In such a fashion, he prepares the way for the coming of the Black Legion, his raptor host descending on tongues of flame to bring panic and despair with each murderous onslaught. Long ago, the traitor legions learned the value of fear. A planet undermined by doubt, or better yet, paralyzed by it, is one already half conquered. Worldclaimer is a scholar and collector of dark knowledge as well as a leader of men, and he knows the power of words well chosen. He has studied the grimoire Nostromo, that vilest of treatises written in king's blood by the Primarch Curse. He has unearthed the clotted scrolls, learning well the threats growled by Angron before he was consumed by those berserker rages that gave his legion their reputation as eaters of worlds. He has even delved into the dread Book of Magnus, though it cost him a good part of his sanity to do so. In his studies he has learned much. When he delivers his fell message, broadcast not only from his own loud halo array, but the vox grills and cankerous throats of 1,000 acolytes. The raw and gloating hatred that drips from each syllable can shatter cohesion, cause mass surrenders, and even drive men to suicide. Though many heralds would consider their duty done upon the Lord's arrival, Haarken Worldclaimer revels in bringing destruction in person as well as from afar. He hastens to where the planet's denizens are coordinating their defenses, to winding supply lines, secret war rooms, and remote command bunkers, and there he strikes. Descending from the skies alongside vast flocks of raptors, Haarken plunges towards the nerve centers of the enemy's war efforts. With thunderous bellows he proclaims to his foes below that the hour of their doom has arrived, and that the slaughter shall not cease until the earth has been anointed with every last drop of their blood. And this is no mindless bluster. While the foe scrabbles to intercept Worldclaimer, drawing forces from the front lines to drive back his assaults, the Chaos armies on the ground move in to capitalize on the confusion, tearing their disorganized flanks and crumpling reforming battle formations. Upon landing, Haarken is swift to join the slaughter. His cruel promises only ring louder as he slashes his way through the fray, sending waves of dread rippling across the enemy's tattered ranks. The assault on the foe's morale escalates as he singles out defiant generals and champions, launching himself toward them and impaling them with practiced efficiency. Such gruesome displays demonstrate the inevitability of Abaddon's will, and the wholesale butchery of the embattled world's greatest warriors, eradicate any fragments of hope that remain on the planet. Haarken's demon-touched relic, the Hell Spear, has tasted the blood of monarchs, Xenos tyrants, and even Chaos Lords over his long service as Herald to the Despoiler. And each demoralizing kill invigorates him, driving him to further acts of bloodshed. But it is not only the breasts of men and aliens into which the spear is plunged. It has become a symbolic act for Haarken, upon making planetfall, to drive his spear deep into the world's crust, and roar out the fell promise that within 80 days and 80 nights it will fall. He has yet to be proved false. End quote. Haarken Worldclaimer. Now to me, he represents the first stages of the attempt to reclaim Abaddon from his previous state of being, well, slightly derided by the fandom. For he is the first of Abaddon's new entourage, and that can be a powerful thing. Many old hands suspect that Games Workshop are attempting to make Abaddon seem more formidable in a plethora of ways. The degeneration and degradation of the image of Horus, the increased threat of the Black Crusades, now that they have finally achieved something in this last 13th manifestation, which finally destroyed Cadia and permitted the warp to crash into real space in the form of the tear across the galaxy that is called many things. But Gork's Grin, the Scar, or the Cicatrix Maledictum are the best known. But for me, one of the most subconscious ways of increasing an individual's prestige, their power, is to give them an entourage. Because if Haarken is so powerful, so brutal, so driven, so deadly, this only adds to the greater glory of his master, Abaddon. And I for one suspect that we may see advisors, viziers, lackeys and hangers-on aplenty for Abaddon, if this is the route that they wish to take for the Lord of the Black Crusades. But no matter what the reason, or the effect his existence may have on the standing of Abaddon in the setting and fandom, Haarken himself, as a Lord of Raptors, is a threat worthy of taking seriously, all unto himself. I have been Baldermort, your faithful servant. Hope you've enjoyed this brief introduction to Haarken Worldclaimer. If so, then please do consider liking and subscribing. If you do, then hit the notifications button, as I would not want you to miss out. If you see the worth in what we are doing, then do also consider supporting us on Patreon, or giving the video a share if that is beyond your present scope. It would be a great boon. Now, no matter what you do today, do try to make some time for fun. Toodaloo.